Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 24th of March, 2023. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So kicking off today, we have an announcement from the Lodestar team, or the ChainSafe team, the developers behind the Lodestar consensus layer client here, that they have a prize pool of $20,000 to give away to people that run the Lodestar client. Now, a share of this $20,000 will be paid to stakers who provably propose a block on the network using Lodestar, and full details and eligibility requirements are down below in this blog post. So I'll link this in the YouTube description below for you to check out. But I think this is really cool. This is, I guess, something that has been spoken about in the past, where teams can basically incentivize usage of their clients through monetary incentives, and you can prove things on chain, and you can have like cryptographic proof on chain that people are running your client and they're proposing blocks using it, which is obviously really, really awesome. And as I said, the details of that are in this blog post. It's running from, I think, it's running from March 23rd, so basically yesterday, and it will be running until August 23rd, so about 5 months from now. As I said, like, it's for people who propose blocks using the Lodestar client. So if that sounds like something you're interested in doing, you can go ahead and change your consensus layer client over to Lodestar. And as I said, read the blog post for full details on how to participate to make sure you don't miss anything there. I don't know if this just applies to only solo stakers, or if it applies to not just solo stakers, but like if it applies to mini pools as well, I should say, because obviously it would apply to any validator. But if you're staking via, say, Lido, for example, and you just have STETH, you're not actually running a validator, I doubt that that it's going to go into the running for this prize pool here. I'm not sure if mini pool, if it's just individual kind of validators here, or if it's mini pools as well. So maybe it mentions it in the blog post. I don't know. Oh yeah, no, there is some eligibility criteria here. So large staking operators are not eligible, which actually obviously makes a lot of sense. And this is how you basically participate. You put graffiti, must include Lodestar. They'll use the crawler to scrutinize the block proposal, unique deposit addresses. Oh, and yeah, Rocket Pool node operators are eligible. Actually, I can see that here. So very, very cool. So if you're a Rocket Pool node operator, you're also eligible for this. And soon, very soon actually, you'll be able to become a Rocket Pool node operator with only 8 ETH and 2.4 ETH worth of RPL, so basically halving that requirement there. So yeah, this will open it up to more peoples, and it's really easy to run these clients. I mean, they're pretty standard, and Lodestar is a great client. I'm not running it right now myself. I'm running mostly Lighthouse. I have some other minority clients running, more so in kind of like test environments, or environments that are being used for not just testing purposes, but kind of like a staging area sort of thing, because I do want to diversify my clients out more. I don't want to just be running all Lighthouse, because I am running Lighthouse on my solo validators right now and my Rocket Pool mini pools. I'm interested in changing my mini pools over to something else. Not that Lighthouse is a bad client or anything like that, but I definitely want to participate in the client diversity as much as possible. But anyway, you can go read this announcement from Lodestar. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, so the block has put out a report on a project called DRPC, which is a decentralized RPC network that has been launched for Ethereum apps. So you can see here the RPC network supports Ethereum-based apps, but there are plans to support apps on other EVM chains, and the full details are in this post here, as well as links to the relevant things. Now, obviously, RPCs has been a big discussion point over the last 24 hours, because the default RPC that Metamask uses for Arbitrum was overloaded because of the airdrop, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But generally, RPCs can become a pretty big bottleneck. RPCs can censor you. They can be quite centralizing. So having a alternative decentralized RPC network from DRPC and some others out there is obviously something that the community and the ecosystem needs. So congrats to DRPC on the launch. You can get full details about this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. All right, a few regulatory updates before we jump into the Arbitrum airdrop, which is going to be a fun discussion. But Tom Emmer, who I've talked about on the Refuel a bunch of times before, who's a congressman in the US here, has put out a tweet where he said, "If you don't custody consumer funds, you are not a money transmitter. The Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act provides this necessary certainty for miners, validators, wallet service providers, and the entire blockchain ecosystem." And then Tom continues and says, "Proud to introduce this bipartisan bill with Representative Darren Soto here." So you can see this bill here, and you can see some of the text here. But this is basically saying that if you don't custody consumer funds or customer funds, and you are basically, a miner or a validator, you're producing blocks, but you're taking no custody of funds, then you should not have to register as a money transmitter and not have to abide by those laws and regulations around money transmitters. Now, of course, money transmitter laws exist because of things like banks. Banks do custody consumer funds, and they actually use them for their own purposes, and customer funds, I should say. So obviously it should apply to them, but for a miner, for a validator, for a wallet software provider that, almost all of them are not custodial, they do not hold funds. They never hold funds, really. They never hold user funds. Like, for example, when I produce a block that's full of user transactions on the Ethereum network, I take no custody of anyone's funds. Yes, I get paid a fee, but that fee is mine now. Like, that doesn't belong to the customer anymore. That belongs to me because they paid that fee, right? And the network itself pays me a block reward for that. For doing that, right? And it pays me other rewards for testing. But at no point in that process do I ever take custody of anyone's funds, so I should not be required to register as a money transmitter. And this is a similar argument about validators and relayers being censoring or non-censoring of OFAC-related transactions. Well, if you're if you're just kind of approving these things, or I guess proposing blocks with these things in there, you shouldn't have to basically censor because you are not breaking any laws by doing that. The sanctions are on the Tornado Cash contracts themselves. They're not on the validators and relayers, but obviously there's legal ambiguity there, and that's why certain relayers have decided to censor. I'm sure there are some validators out there that are censoring as well, especially if they're validators that are part of registered US companies, and I totally understand the reasons for doing that. But we need clarity. We need things actually introduced. We need bills to be introduced. We need things to be enshrined in law. And that's exactly what Tom Emmer is attempting to do here. Now, of course, we don't know the chances that this bill is going to get passed. There's probably low chances, but the fact that the conversation is there, conversation is ongoing, is much better than us just resting on our laurels and hoping that, the government does the right thing, which, as I explained yesterday, a lot of the time doesn't align with their own incentives. So we have to keep pushing on this front, and I'm really glad that Tom introduced this bill today. All right, so Rodrigo here, who works in legal at the Paradigm VC Fund, has put together a guide or a series of blog posts about the SEC, basically. So he says in a tweet, Gensler's admonition that crypto projects should just come in and register to come into a compliance is impossible to abide by. We wrote a 4-part series explaining why, and the first part here is titled "Due to SEC inaction, registry is not a viable path for crypto projects," and this is part 1. I don't know if part 2, 3, and 4 have been published yet. Let me have a look at this. No, I believe. This is part 2 here. Part 1. I don't know if part 3 and 4 have been published yet, but I'll link both of these in the YouTube description below for you to give a read. But this again speaks to what I was saying yesterday about how the SEC keeps coming up with all this stuff, and they keep saying to projects, you need to register with us, you need to abide by the laws and regulations, and then projects ask, okay, what are those laws and regulations that I have to abide by? How do I register? And the SEC basically doesn't give any clarity at all. There's no action here. They don't actually want to give clarity. They don't want to work with crypto projects to become compliant. They just want to be a big bully. So that's what these blog posts talk about, and I highly recommend giving them a read because Paradigm's legal team has always been on point. They've put a bunch of these posts out in the past that have really resonated with me and really made things clear to me. So I'll link these both in the YouTube description for you to check out. All right. In rather positive news, at least this is positive for me. Kwon has been arrested in Montenegro, I believe. And he has also been charged with fraud by U.S. prosecutors in New York. So as you guys will know, Kwon has been on the run since Terra collapsed. He's been hiding out in various countries around the world. Apparently, he was caught because he was using fake documentation to enter Montenegro, I believe, which just is weird, but I mean, it is what it is, right? So he was caught and arrested there. Now, I believe Montenegro has an extradition treaty with the US. They don't have one with South Korea, but the warrant for his arrest is out in South Korea. But the US also has a warrant for his arrest now because they have charged him with a bunch of charges, actually. They've charged him with conspiracy to defraud, 2 times counts of commodities fraud, 2 times counts of securities fraud, 2 times counts of wire fraud, and market manipulation. These are some pretty hefty charges, guys. This is like SBF level charges here. And it's pretty crazy. But for me personally, I'm really glad that he's seeing justice, and not because I believe in vengeance, or I believe in basically throwing everyone in jail and that does anything wrong and not trying to rehabilitate them or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with that for me. What it's got to do with is that we need more enforcement actions against these really bad actors in order to deter other people from doing this in the future. Like, the amount of cowboys that we had last bull cycle is insane, and pretty much all of them blew up, right? And a lot of them have been either arrested or their companies have gone bankrupt and they've faced the consequences for their actions. Unfortunately, Three Arrows Capital or the founders Suzu and Carl Davies haven't faced any kind of action consequences for their actions yet. And they've actually started another project and somehow duped investors into giving them money and are somehow gallivanting around like it's all well and good that they defrauded certain. Or I guess like they allegedly defrauded certain parties in the crypto ecosystem. They're still running wild. But, SBF has been arrested. Kwon has now been arrested. BlockFi went bankrupt. Celsius went bankrupt. Like a lot of these bad actors have just kind of gotten wiped out. But we need to send a clear message to these bad actors and especially these really big bad actors, that if you do these things, there are consequences. There are enforcement action consequences against you. Now, I'm not going to get into the debate about what these enforcement actions should be, how long people should go to jail for, what the punishment should be, none of that sort of stuff. I'm not here to debate that. I just believe that we have so far in crypto not been able to self-regulate and self-police these sorts of things. So unfortunately, we're going to need other entities to do this for us. Now, does that mean that I believe that we should have harsher regulation in crypto? No, I don't believe that at all. I think that the rules are pretty clear, and I think that Kwon here is being charged with existing laws and regulations and things that he's broke. I mean, market manipulation, wire fraud, these things are not unique to crypto, obviously. But I don't believe that the response should be harsher and harsher regulation on crypto. I believe the response should be clarity on regulation around crypto so that the good actors can keep doing good things, and the bad actors, it makes it harder for them to do bad things. And then if they are able to grow and basically create ecosystems like Terra that blow up and hurt a lot of people, they should definitely face consequences for their actions. Now, that's just my general opinion on these sorts of things. I know others have other opinions, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying that I'm right here in that opinion, but I do believe that when you do things at this scale, when you hurt this many people, you can't just walk away from it and start something new. I mean, that's what Three Arrows Capital did, and it really pisses me off that they're able to do that, but I don't believe that you should be able to do that. I believe that everyone should face the consequences of their actions, whether good or bad, and honestly, I know people have disagreements about what those consequences should be, but that's just the way I see things. But anyway, I'm going to leave that one at that. That's the latest on Kwon. I don't think we'll be hearing about him again, maybe until he goes to court or something like that. But honestly, he's kind of boring to report on. No one really cares about him anymore. He's old news now, but I figured that was worth updating you guys on. All right, we come to the meat of the episode, which is the Arbitrum airdrop. Now, of course, this airdrop was hilarious because essentially, well, hilarious in a kind of like not a haha funny way, but in a oh my god, like of course this happened way. So essentially, as any of you will know that tried to claim the airdrop as soon as it went live, everything fell over. Arbiscan fell over, the Arbitrum website fell over, the RPCs fell over. I don't know if the sequencer fell over. I don't think it did. did, but I mean, the RPC fell over. So no one could claim, really. And anyone who could claim was able to sell at a really high price because it was a very liquid market, right? There weren't many tokens out there, so some people were able to sell upwards of like $6, $7, $8, and then of course once people were able to claim, the price came crashing down from there because that was not a true market price, and now I believe the price is $1.50 or something like that, and I believe anyone can claim now because the craziness is over now. And I claimed mine when I woke up this morning, slept through most of the craziness, but I don't plan to sell mine. The cool thing about Australia now is that when you get an airdrop and it's an initial kind of creation of the token, the airdrop has a $0 cost basis, which means you don't pay income tax on that airdrop, and you only pay capital gains tax when you sell it. I don't plan to sell my ARB tokens for a very long time, if ever, right? And you guys know I'm an investor in Arbitrum as well here. I'm really bullish on the project, of course, so I just delegated my tokens to L2Beat, actually, because they're one of the delegates that I really want to support. But yeah, I hope you were all able to claim your tokens. Whether you sold or not is up to you. Like, there's no shame in selling an airdrop, especially if it's worth a lot. I mean, I think the largest individual airdrop that people could get per address was around 10,000 tokens. So if you got the whole airdrop, that's 15 grand at current prices, US. No one would blame you for taking that. That's a lot of money, right? A lot of free money. But like as I said, like you can sell. There's no shame in taking profits, or you can hold and you can delegate your tokens. It's totally up to you what you want to do. I know there's a lot of speculation about what Arbitrum's price is what ARB's price is going to be in the future. I'm not going to comment on any of that, of course. But obviously, Arbitrum is the leading L2 right now, I think, by most metrics. So whatever the biggest L2 should be worth, it's up to the market to decide, really. But yeah, anyway, enough on the value of the ARB token. I think that this marks a new era for Arbitrum. Obviously, with their token going live, they now have a decentralized governance process. They're going to be slowly decentralizing out the entire Arbitrum One and other networks like Arbitrum Nova, and this is going to be really cool to see because I think them and Optimism are the furthest along this path right now. There are obviously a lot of other L2s going live soon, the zkVMs, and they're going to have their own path to decentralization and all that sort of stuff. But it is a journey. It is a long journey. It's going to take multiple years to get there. It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, Arbitrum and Optimism went live in mid to late 2021, right? And it's already almost mid 2023. So this stuff's going to take time to get out there. But issuing a token, creating a DAO, obviously is the first step. But we want to see permissionless fraud proofs. We want to see people being able to run sequences and validators on the network, and that's all going to happen over time for all of these networks. And I believe that decentralization is actually a key selling point. And I believe that the L2s that get there the fastest will stand the best chance of long-term success. But obviously, we don't want to rush these things. We don't want to make any mistakes. But yeah, it's going to get there. Now, just a couple of metrics around the ARB airdrop. You can see here that the activity on Arbitrum 1 spiked up pretty crazily. You can see their normal activity here. Well, it just spiked up massively. And I don't know how accurate this is on L2Beat right now, but it says it peaked at about 31 TPS. I think Arbitrum 1 was able to do more than that, but there is a cap on how much they can do based on their own, I guess, internal gas limit as part of the Arbitrum 1 network. And then you can see here on Arbiscan the transactions per day. If I go to the charts and stats and go to daily transactions charts, that also spiked up massively. 2.7 million total transactions happened basically in the last 24 hours because of the airdrop. And you can see the unique address chart obviously spiked up as well because people needed to claim their ARB tokens on the Arbitrum 1 network. And actually, that's something I didn't correct that I mentioned last week. I got confused with the docs where basically the wording was a bit confusing to me, and I said that the ARB token was claimable on Ethereum mainnet, not on Arbitrum 1. It turns out it obviously was only claimable on the Arbitrum 1 network, and then you could bridge it from there to wherever it was supported. So apologies for that last week, but as I said, the confusion stemmed from the confusing wording on the documentation, which has since been fixed, I believe. But yeah, anyway, I don't think anyone was too sad about that, especially because claiming on Arbitrum 1 is cheaper and faster than claiming on the Ethereum mainnet anyway, and you can only claim on Arbitrum 1 if you go to the arbitrum.foundation website. But yeah, anyway, I'll link these kind of charts and stuff in the YouTube description for you to check out. But as I said, I hope you were all able to claim your airdrop. I hope you got a healthy airdrop. I hope that you know, if you did cash out, it's money that you can be used to improve your life. As I said, if you got the maximum airdrop, you got $15,000, maybe you can use that to pay down your mortgage. Maybe you can use that to pay down a car payment. Maybe you can use it for some bills that you want to pay down, or buy yourself something awesome, or go on an amazing holiday, right? Like, this is the awesome thing about these airdrops, is that you don't have to hold them. You can sell them. You can take profits here. You don't have to hold them in crypto at all, and no one should shame you for selling them. And then you can better your life for simply sticking around, using these products. As I've said plenty of times before, use these products, guys. Stick around. Anything doesn't have a token, it's probably going to have a token in the future. They're probably going to airdrop it. You have so much opportunities with just airdrops alone to enrich your own life, but not just from the, I guess, money itself, right? Maybe you sold it for ETH. Maybe you stacked more ETH. Maybe you can now spin up a validator, right? Maybe a solo validator or a rocket pool mini pool. There's so much opportunity in just getting this money and getting shared these tokens to you for basically using these networks. And a really cool thing about this is that if you've used apps on Arbitrum 1 as well, they got airdropped a bunch of tokens. So maybe they'll do retroactive airdrops to users of the apps, or future users of the apps, or liquidity mining programs. So there's so much opportunity, guys, not just obviously on Arbitrum 1, but like on everything. Just continue to stick around. Don't go anywhere. Like, they're not just monetary opportunities, as I've said in the past. There's career opportunities too, if you're interested in doing something like that. And I think these airdrops are a perfect example of those opportunities materializing in a monetary way, but also materializing in a kind of social way as well, because it basically brings more people into the ecosystem, I believe. But anyway, gonna leave that one at that. Moving on to the next piece. Actually, wait, there's one more thing on the Arbitrum airdrop that I wanted to say. I did just gush about how positive the airdrop was, but there are always negative aspects of airdrops, and one of the biggest negative aspects are airdrop farmers and SIWE farmers. You can see here that this is an airdrop farming operation that has unique addresses, unique IP addresses, unique Ethereum addresses, and unique IP addresses that farmed the Arbitrum airdrop and then went and claimed it. And you can see all the windows here. Unfortunately, no matter how much work you do to get rid of these kind of airdrop farmers or airdrop cyblers, it is extremely hard to filter them all out because they are very sophisticated. They make themselves look like regular users. They basically do everything that they can possibly think of to be eligible for the airdrop in terms of criteria. And then, as I said, weeding them out is incredibly hard. Now, in saying that, there are certain tools that are here today and that are getting better over time, such as things like Proof of Humanity, Sysmo's ZK badge stuff, the Ethereum attestation service, all these sorts of things that can further prove your identity and prove your kind of proof of humanity and prove that you're not cyberling and things like that. Right, that I think the project should integrate with for future airdrops. Now, obviously, they're not at their mature state today. They will be in the future, but that's one way we can get around this sorts of stuff. But it is hard. You're never going to have 100% coverage here over removing these people from the pool. That's just the way it is at the end of the day. You can only do as best you can, and I truly do think that Arbitrum did, or Alphachain Labs team, as best that they could to weed out the cyber farmers here, because obviously you don't want there to be false positives, right? You don't want to weed out legitimate users because you think that they're a cyber farmer. That's actually worse than weeding out the cyber farmers, right? So yeah, it's a rock and a hard place a lot of the time, but projects are doing the best they can right now, but I think they can do better with the new tools that we've got coming out in the future, as I just mentioned a few of them there. All right, so zkSync is teasing something for today. Now, maybe by the time you watch this episode, it has already been revealed what this is. I have my own theories on what this is, given obviously a few different clues here. So one, they're airdropping their token, right? That's my first theory on it. Two, their zkSync era zkVM mainnet is going live, right? I think that's pretty... I mean, it's a pretty kind of like safe bet, considering that they said a few weeks ago that they'd be launching their zkSync mainnet, I believe, in like 6 weeks or something like that. So that's a pretty easy guess. Third, they've got all these major partnerships that they're announcing, because they're not the only Twitter account that tweeted out this video. There was a bunch of others like Rocket Pool and some others out there that tweeted this out. And fourth, it's a nothing burger, right? Because we saw one of these cross, I guess, promotion things done a few weeks ago, and it turned out to be a nothing burger. If I had to put my money on anything, I would say that it's their zkVM going on mainnet, just because it's pretty obvious that it is, based on all the signals that I'm seeing. And there was also another blog post that they put out today talking about how they're going to be securing zkSync and with an execution delay and different kind of security councils and stuff like that, as you can see in this Twitter thread and blog post. So yeah, I think the timing lines up. I think the teasing lines up. I think that given the past kind of like context around the zk EVM coming to mainnet within 6 weeks after their developer only mainnet from a few weeks ago, so the mainnet open to everyone, right? The permissionless mainnet, it makes sense. So we'll see if I'm right. I don't know when this news is coming out, but it's coming out today. As I said, you're probably going to be watching this after the news has already gone live. But yeah, that's what I think it is. But anyway, you can read this blog post for yourself, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this news on Monday when it's already out and live. All right, so speaking of zk EVMs, I spoke about Taiko's Alpha 2 testnet that launched, I believe, yesterday. Yeah, about a bit over 24 hours ago, or 36 hours ago since this tweet was put out. And they've put a tweet thread recapping what has happened since then. Well, there's more than 160 community L2 nodes in the network. 12 unique provers have generated a validity proof. And there's been over 14,000 blocks, over 8,000 wallets, 67,000 transactions, 2,000 contracts, and more. And you can read this full thread for a breakdown here. Now, I want to say that obviously some of this activity is going to be airdrop farmers. That's to be expected. As I've said before, airdrop farmers are everywhere. They're on every single project that doesn't have a token yet, and they're going to be doing whatever they can to get an airdrop. And that's totally fine. I mean, it kind of acts as like a symbiotic relationship where the airdrop farmers do this because they're farming an airdrop, but by doing this, they're helping to test out the software, not just on the user-facing side, but on the prover side here, as well as the node side, which is obviously very positive. So I think that airdrop farmers, as I said, have their positive externalities as well as their negative externalities. And I do think it can be a symbiotic relationship as long as you're essentially forcing these airdrop farmers to stress test your network, to test your software, to make it better for everyone. And then essentially they get rewarded for doing that, right? If they're not caught in the analysis here. But as you guys know, Taiko is one of the L2s that does not have a token yet, has not announced any plans for a token, but we all know that pretty much every L2 and most projects are going to have tokens out there, so I'm sure there is some farming here. Not to take away from the fact that this is an amazing achievement in just 36 hours though, so congrats to Taiko on this, and you can read their full thread. I will link it in the YouTube description below. All right, finally here we have an announcement from Spruce. So Spruce has announced that sign-in with Ethereum has now been directly integrated with Metamask. So they continue by saying, with standardized message formats, wallet providers can create sign-in experiences much closer to what we expect in Web 2, like with a clear sign-in button. And you can see in the screenshot here, users should be able to clearly see when they are simply signing in versus authorizing bad actors to drain their assets. So instead of it just being a sign button now that's just sign to sign a transaction, you are now have a sign in button that basically says that you're just signing into the site and you're not signing a transaction, you're not signing a token approval or anything like that. You're just signing in to the website itself, which I think is a pretty huge UX boon for just like really the character change here is like 3 characters. They've just added the dash and then the in, but I think it's a really great safety improvement for users and a really great UI UX improvement overall. And you can see here that there's warnings and stuff as well, like sign-in requests and how they can be potentially deceptive and more stuff like that. So you can read this full blog post from the Spruce team here. Metamask also had one, I believe, for full details on this. But this is this kind of stuff that makes sign-in with Ethereum ubiquitous. We want to make it ubiquitous. We want websites in the Web 2 world to also basically integrate with sign-in with Ethereum so that you can use your Metamask wallet to not only sign into Web 3 enabled websites, but also Web 2 websites. Imagine being able to sign into Twitter with just your Ethereum address. That would be insane. You wouldn't have to give them your email, right? You wouldn't have to give them your mobile number. You could just sign in with your Ethereum address, and then you can obviously add 2FA if you want to on top of that, and then you'd be able to, and then Twitter would be able to integrate natively with Web3 enabled features too. Imagine Twitter having like on the left hand side here, having like a portfolio button or a wallet button or any that shows you your assets and things like that. Imagine them having an NFT store, for example, or something, right? That brings in all of these different or aggregates all these different NFT marketplaces. I mean, imagine them having like a place to vote in DAOs and stuff like that. And imagine imagine you being able to follow the Twitter account for a DAO and then automatically gets updates of their snapshot votes and stuff like that. Like, the possibilities are endless here when these integrations happen, and I think signing with Ethereum is like gateway, that big unlock that needs to happen before any of the other stuff can be integrated at scale there. But anyway, I think on that note, that's going to be it for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all next week. Thanks everyone.